You're listening to RTL SA.
And coming up in just a second, I'm going to be speaking to Gavin Sharples, who's a motivational speaker, and he's worked with small, medium, and multinational businesses, both locally and internationally, in meetings, corporate events, and functions. Gavin delivers ideas and strategies in a no-nonsense, fun manner, getting down to business from a get-go. A true humorist, Gavin approaches his serious issues in life through humor, engaging his audience and leaving them motivated to take on the next challenge. Gavin speaks on matters that relate to the individual and how the individual can and will affect the success of a company, focusing on change, action, and truth. Without change and innovation, we grow stagnant, and in time we start deteriorating while everything around us disintegrates in the process. For business and individual alike, change equals survival. And I'm going to be chatting him just a little bit, but let's catch up a little bit on the piece that I was sent this past Friday, and this is Gavin talking about gender-based violence.
So what could I do? So I put together a thing called The Manual. I thought it was a very clever title. The Manual, how to be a real man, okay? I contacted the bank yesterday, and I'm going to take access to a flexi bond that I've got. I'm going to take money out of my bond, and I'm going to fill my downstairs cellar here with these manuals, and I want to go from school to place, and I want to start the conversation and saying to people, here is the book, here is the manual, here is the way that you should act as a young man, here's the way you should act as a husband, here's the way you should act with your friends and your colleagues. And it doesn't mean you've got to be a pushover. Real men are not pushovers. I will put out a video, and the video will be something stupid, something like guess these cars or whatever, and I will get so many hits. I get like 1,000 views, and I get people going, you're right on and spot on and that type of thing. But I post a video, an 8-minute video that talks about the crime in this country, and not just crime. All I spoke to you about was the crime against women and children in our country, and the crimes that are perpetrated by men. Do you know how many, I think I got about 4 comments and maybe 1 like. Isn't it, I can't get this. What is it when you are speaking to people and you speak to them about things that are important? They shut up, they pull down the hatches. Let us start the conversation. The best time to have a conversation with a man who's beaten a woman is when he was 12, when he was 14, when he was 16. The best time to have that conversation is before that beating takes place. I post a video like that, and what do I get? 2 of my friends. Now, when I say 2, immediately after that video, 2 of my friends, and I'm talking real friends, not Facebook friends, 2 of my friends contacted me and said, send me an order form. 2. What can I do to make this thing a bigger thing, to get the conversation starting to talk about men that are doing wrong in this country? And when are the good men in this country going to start doing something? And I don't care. Maybe don't follow me. Maybe you think I'm full of shit. That's fine. And maybe you don't want to follow me. Maybe you don't want to be part of me. Maybe you've got 1,000 things to say about me. Maybe, oh, look, he's old. Oh, he hasn't aged well. I don't know what you want to say. But at the end of the day, that's not what this conversation is about. The conversation is about what are you doing? What are you doing to make sure that the women and children in this country are safe?
Can you hear me?
Men are the problem. Do we understand this? Now, my contribution is to take my name and my brand and whatever reputation that I've got,
can you hear me?
Look at you and say to you, we need to do something. And I know that I'm going to piss off a whole bunch of people. In fact, I'm going to piss off all the men who are not real men. I'm going to piss off all the men who don't have the balls to actually contact me and say, Gav, what can I do? Or the balls just to say like, or the balls just to take a link and send it on to somebody.
Joining me now live, Gavin Sharples. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I didn't catch much of that. It looked like a very upset cross person there. It's fingers and going mad.
Gavin, let me give you a little bit of background. On Friday on my show, I had a rant, and a proper rant, and I used foul language, and I went ballistic, and I went mad about exactly that subject. And during my show, someone dropped me a link of that video. And when I listened to that video, it was like I was listening to a replay of myself. Very powerful and well said, Gavin, and I'm really glad that you were able to join us on the show today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite.
Now, give us a little bit of background. because a lot of people haven't heard about you before. Well, myself being one of them. I'm ashamed to admit.
But, I'm an overnight success.
Give us a little bit of a background about yourself. Tell us who you are.
I'm a speaker. So for 25 years, I've been hitting the corporate and the speaking platforms. I speak on change, innovation, doing things differently. I've got a talk called Section 8, People Who Make a Difference. So my whole concept is I go into companies, also sales, big on sales, but my whole concept is I go into organizations and I say, without change, without doing things differently, we can't have success. And that's basically what I speak about. And I try and do it in a fun way. So I'm known a bit as a humorist. In other words, everything I do is a lot of fun. We work on laughs per minute, so we try and use a lot of humor to try and get across very serious issues. And I've been doing that, as I say, for 25 years, a couple of books out. And for the last 12 years on the sideline, I have been writing a book called I thought it was a cool title. There's no examples for young men on how to become real men. In fact, there's no examples of grown-ass men on how to become real men. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if there was a manual? I love the title, The Manual. And I thought, well, let me work on it. And I've been working on it for 12, 13 years. And every Christmas and every year, my kids would go, "Oh, Dad, how's the manual coming?" "Your Dad." And the COVID thing, obviously, my entire industry was just... It's funny, you wake up one morning and the government's taken away not only your industry, but your career. And you think, well, I better do something else. And I've got some time on my hands. So I finished the manual and I was just doing the artwork and stuff. And then that horrible front page of the Sunday Times came up yet again about another, and it's a child, basically, another child, and who was hanging from a tree. And this child had a child inside of her. And I just, normally what I do, like now, I get dressed, I put my little thing, my logos on, and I just was so... Something just said, I've never done a live thing before. Somebody said, these live Facebook things you should do. I didn't, as you can see, I'm still, even today's when I did, I'm pushing the buttons and changing the camera. But, and then when I see that video, like you've played that now, and I think to myself, damn, get it off. I mean, it was a bad hair day. It was a bad clothing day. It was a bad angle, the wrinkles. But it wasn't about that. It was just a case of, something has to be said and something has to be done, and I believe that I've got a little piece of the tool a tool to help, a little piece of the puzzle, and I'm being absolutely blown away by the response that we've got.
Now, Gavin, one of the things, and we'll talk about the manual in just a second, but yeah, my rant on Friday was about the fact that, and while I was playing a piece and we're talking about gender-based violence, and I was watching the numbers drop on my broadcast and people leaving the broadcast and leaving the show, and they were dropping. And I pretty much, I've always been a cool customer for the last 25, 30 years that I've been doing this. And I just lost it. I literally lost my cool, which is why someone who was listening sent me this link. And I think the biggest thing that came through and really hit me in between the eyes was that I'm not the only one that has this frustration about people losing interest in important topics and not having the balls, as you said, and the guts to like and share and promote a real message, but would rather like and share messages about kitty cats making funny noises and stuff like that. Do you want to just elaborate a bit on your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I don't want to repeat what I didn't know which part you played there, but yeah, that's what really, it just pissed me off. It just, do you know that people in South Africa are great to turn around now and say it's shocking, it's horrible, and something should be done, and then you look at them and you say to them, well, what are you doing? And you give people an outlet, and you say, well, we must try something or do something. People have such big mouths in this country. And I've also said now that, I've got there's 60,000 views or whatever, and people are going, I'm right behind you. And I'm saying to people, thank you for saying that. Thank you for sharing. But what are you doing? Do you know, what are you actually doing? So step number one now, I've actually spoken about something that is a bigger pandemic than COVID will ever be. Because you look back over the last 10, 15, 20 years in this country, 30 years in this country, you look at the amount of murders and rapes and pillage. I sent out a video, it's on the Facebook page, where I said, I worked out that if you have a look at the amount of rapes that are actually reported, compared to the amounts that aren't reported, it works out to be that a woman is raped every 4.5 minutes in this country. Now, I say that to the audience, and I talk about the crime and the violence against women. And if a woman is killed every 3 or 4 hours in this country, okay, if you're a woman. But if you're a man, you are 3 times more likely to be killed than a woman. So this is not even a gender thing anymore. It's men killing men and boys and sons. But what I do is I put a picture up on Facebook about choose that, and I did this on purpose. It's 10 different motor cars from different TV series, and I say to them, guess which TV series it came from. The thing flipping comments and things. But when I speak to people about real life things, they shut down. I have 1 or 2 comments I'm right behind you. I thought to myself, and what it is, I think, is people are just scared. It's the same thing as now that I'm on your show as well. In the back of my mind, I'm also scared to say, don't say the word black. Because as soon as you say the word black, you are going to be attacked by people. As soon as do you know, okay, true story. I posted something maybe a year ago about gender violence and about men, and we've got to step up and that type of thing. Some idiot sends a Facebook post. You know what he says to me? He says, you have got it wrong. He says, women statistically are far more violent than men. Get your facts right. And I just, do you know, so apart from...
I wonder where you got that.
But you know what he did? He got that. What's that guy on social media now? He's a professor from Canada or something. He comments about everything now. He's like this new prophet. There's 2 guys. There's a Shapiro Oak and there's this other guy now who turns around and says...
There's quite a few of them, man.
No, man. He's a Canadian guy. I think he's a Canadian guy. And he talks about the fact that he won't call a transgender person he or she. What is his name, man? What was that guy's name? I forget his name now. Anyway, so and I've lost my point. What was my point?
We're talking about that comment regarding women are more likely, or women are more dangerous.
So he did a speech, and in it he actually showed there's some statistic at certain times in a woman's life that she can be more aggressive, and he was using it to say when a woman has got a child near her, she is overprotective and she will violently protect that child. So in the context of a mother protecting her young as a biological thing, this guy, he didn't even understand the guy's presentation. But what he does, he comes back and he says that women are more. So I'm thinking, so people are basically ignorant. They are scared. Man, people are scared to actually speak out. And they're scared to speak out because, God forbid, somebody tweets something nasty about them. Heaven forbid somebody comes up and calls them. And they are going to call you names. As soon as you stand up and you speak the truth, everybody who's benefiting from the opposite of that is going to come and they're going to attack you. Everybody with issues is going to attack you. People are going to attack you because they all are based on self-interest. But we have got millions of people in this country who are cool people. And I'm looking for those people now, the ones who turned around and said, we like this and we like that. I'm looking at them now and saying, it's one thing to like. What are you going to do? Put your money where your mouth is. Come and visit us. Come and speak. Come and chat. Give me your contacts. That's what we got to do.
I like a lot of what you said there, and I think, particularly with this guy that climbed into you about the situation, I think a lot of this has got to do with perspective as well. I think people take information and twist it to suit their narrative that they're trying to put in the market, and none more so than our president, I think, personally.
Well, isn't that just the politicians? That's their ace in the hole. They the thing is, and that's what I try and get across to people when I do talks, is that everybody comes to the table with a certain color glasses on. And if you've got red glasses on, all you ever see is red. So somebody could turn around and start talking about that blue tablet and the blue mountain and the blue car. You will see it as red, and you'll manipulate and you'll twist. So that's what I also got to get across to people is self-interest. People function on self-interest, and I see it my way, and that's the biggest problem we got. That's why when I do a talk called Chinking, which is change, innovation, creativity, I say we've got to open up that mind and we've got to start looking at things in a different way. Because if we don't see things in a different way and you only see it in your narrow way, good example, people want alcohol now, this whole lockdown thing, and please don't get me started on the logic of what these people, don't even get me going on that. But before they shut this country down, I said to everybody that I knew, you have a government that cannot even run this country when things are going well. How well do you think these people are going to do in a in an extraordinary situation where they have to now lock down the country. We also understand that they are doing the best they can with the competencies and the knowledge and the stuff that they've got. I get all of that. But they turn around and they said about alcohol. Now, the problem with this whole alcohol thing is alcohol, no alcohol. The problem is that people see it from their perspective. They're sitting there in their house in Parktown North, or they're sitting in flippin' Germiston in one of the normal suburbs. And to them, they want to drink, and drink is important because they want to socialize them. What they are not seeing is that there are millions and millions of people who live in absolute poverty, and they are surrounded by violent men. And all they need to do to spark that is they need alcohol. And you know, I'm not just saying this, the facts will show you. This day they started selling alcohol, the day the violence against women and children and other men actually, it just exploded. And so what they're trying to say is, we're trying not to get the hospitals full of the rape cases and the murder cases and the shootings and the stabbings, because we've got this other emergency to deal with. And we know that if you take alcohol out of the mix, you're going to give us more breathing space. But if I'm sitting in my little house in Bedford View and I have no knowledge, I have no perspective of the bigger picture of the 40, 50, 60 million people who live totally different to the way I do, I'm going to go on social media and go, it's a conspiracy. They are trying to take away our rights. I have a right to get drunk in my own house because I need a Chardonnay. I just look at, you just want to go over and slap them with their Chardonnay. It just pisses me off.
So do you think the ban should have stayed in place, the alcohol ban?
Yeah. Listen, I'm a bit
again
biased.
From a big picture.
Absolutely. From a big picture point of view, you've got to look at listen. No, it's two ways. So first of all, the initial lockdown, if they kept the word about the initial lockdown, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The initial lockdown was to make sure the hospitals and everything was geared up for the wave that is coming. If they'd done that, they stopped the alcohol, because you realize in that first 3 weeks, there was no call for alcohol. It's only when he extended it and you let certain things go and then stopped it, that's what started the main problem. Because people then start looking at logically and going, how is me having a beer in my house? Again, they haven't thought it long term. Yeah. It's the same thing as when you're allowed to go out, you're not allowed to go out. You've got to look at, and again, I'm not trying to defend the government and Ramaphosa, but he's sitting there saying, I have got so many millions of people who walk the streets, who live in small consigns. I've got to deal with this. This is my picture. And you're getting people in their little pockets with self-interest going, this is what we need. This is how we need it. And that's not good. So I understand that everybody's trying to do the best they can, but if people can just take off their glasses just for a second and look at it from another perspective, that's all I'm asking. And if you can just see it from another point of view, all of a sudden you now start seeing things and you go, that's why one of my brand things is love, light, and laughter. I just, and I think maybe you do that as well, just to shine light onto things that nobody wants to talk about, to shine a light. There's a post this morning on Facebook. I tell you, I should have left it. I should have left it. Some woman posted. No, but listen. You got to listen to this one. Some woman posted this morning that any woman who has a tattoo, any woman who sits in a dark room with a man with a beard or a scaly man and gets ink put onto their body is a whore. Now, that is what this woman posted. Now, not only did she post this, some woman took a photograph of it and reposted it, and somebody in my feed actually reposted it again and asked the question, is this correct? Do you know, my head nearly exploded. I just said I should have left it, but I said, you know what, my buddy, first of all, you've reposted something that is criminal, actually, because you have basically called any woman that has a Psalm 23 tattooed on her arm, any woman that turned around and had her son who passed away's name tattooed on her shoulder, you were calling her a whore, not a slut, not a woman of the night. I said, how do you... Oh, my bad. I just lost my cut with these people.
And it must be very difficult for you to keep quiet sometimes. I want to chat to you about the manual.
Yes.
because I think it's a very proactive approach to our situation. I love what you said in your piece as well, is the conversation that we need to have with a rapist or someone that abuses a woman. We need to have that conversation with them when they are 12, 13, 14 years old. And I'm assuming that's what this manual is all about.
It is. When I originally started writing it, it was actually for my son and my daughters. We live in a society, I think it was maybe shortly after somebody was killed or whatever. And I thought to myself, if I go right now, do I have something that I can leave my son and daughters to actually, because my daughters are going to marry these species called males. And is there a benchmark? Is there something that actually shows my son what to do and my daughters? And I started writing it as that. And then I also speak at schools, and I started realizing that young men are lost. I think the latest stat, I stand corrected, it might have gone up. 60% of households in this country grow up without a man in the family. 60%. That means there's no male role model. And stats will show you that you are 10 times more likely to end up in a prison if you didn't have a male in the family when you were growing up. And women are doing this stuff all alone, and it's just not right. So I thought, well, let me put together these rules, these ideas, and saying, if you as a woman, if you're as a young girl, if you look at a guy or a man, he must have these qualities. If he does not have these qualities, you got to kick this guy to the curb. And as a young man coming up, is because there's nobody showing them as a role model because the dads are absent. Here is a book that turns around and says, page 7, okay? If you have a friend, this is how you treat your friend. This is what you do. This is what friendship is. Friendship is watching the oaks back. Friendships are not talking about somebody behind their back. And if somebody is talking about your friend behind your back, you've got to ask the question, why is that person comfortable to speak to you about that person? So there's the basic rules. I'm not rewriting the whole book of knowledge here. All I'm saying is I'm putting into a thing saying, never raise your hands to a woman. That's it. Never raise your hands to a woman. Now, straight away you say that, but you know what? Sometimes it's justified, eh? It's justified. I go, okay, my bad. No. Oh, hold on. You get the spark plugs who say it is. So, for example, what happens if she slept with your brother? You look at the guy and you say, my bad, well, then you leave because you don't want to be around that. I mean, if that's the caliber of woman that you married in the first place, you now wanted to add insult to the injury? Really? Come on.
And violence isn't going to change what happened anyway.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So the manual is designed, as I say, it's enlightening women and it's retraining men or training men, young men, saying to them, here are the rules, my buddy. Have a look at them. And the cool thing is, and that's why I want corporates to get involved. You know, I've got a very good friend of mine. She's a very senior person, was a very senior person in a major company, okay? And I'm talking about sexual harassment in the workplace and that type of stuff. But as I'm talking to her, having lunch, I'm thinking she is a director of this company, only answering to the CEO. That's it. And you know why she wants to leave the company? Sexual harassment. The CEO is sexually harassing. And I said to her, I honestly believe that when you get to a certain level in a company, all of this bullshit actually stops. And she says, Gavin, I could give you the name of 10 other women who are in senior positions right now, and they're too scared to say anything because of their senior position and because of all the commitments that they've got. And I said to myself, no ways, no. Now every corporate needs to make sure that their staff read the manual. And in it turns around and says, thou shalt not send dick pictures to female staff members. Thou shalt not comment on the woman's cleavage. Thou shalt not, thou shalt not. Now the person, when he does it, and HR calls him, and he can't sit there and go, but it was a harmless conversation. Did you read the manual, my bud? Page 17. Did you read it? Yes, that's it. So that's what the manual's about. It's for kids. It's for oaks who are lost, and it's another thing to start the conversation.
Absolutely. Now, how can people get their hands on this manual?
The Real Man site. It's literally the Real Man site. .com, therealmansite.com. There's order forms on there. I've also given in on that site, and it was a very hastily put together site. Big shout out to Coco Jelly for doing that for us in record time. We've actually taken excerpts of the book. So every section of a man's life, financial, spiritual, social, intellectual, buddy, we've actually taken little pieces of the book and actually dropped them in there. We are going to be dropping more and more articles and interesting things in there so guys can go to it. There's also called the Manic button, which I thought was a cool name. Manic button. Get it?
You enjoy the whole MAN thing.
I love it. So you can go to the Manic button and you can push the Manic button, and in there's a button where you can sponsor. In other words, if you as a company want to say, you know what, Mondial High School, which is my old school, we want to make sure every single year the grades, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, everyone gets a manual. Following year, we'll if you want to do that, if you want to just donate, because I want to start helping people who are in a tough spot. For example, my big thing is bullying and violence in schools. Don't even get me started on that one. And what the schools do is they hide behind their attorneys. Because they're private schools, especially the private ones, they hide behind their attorneys when something happens, and you can't fight these massive schools. So we want to start maybe a crowdfunding thing where you know that and we start holding people accountable. That's a big thing. Hold people accountable for what they actually did. And more importantly, you can actually join us and spread the word. I'm looking for CEOs. I'm looking for corporate social responsibility. Basically, I'm looking for as much money as you people have got. So then we can get as many of these manuals out as we possibly can. And again, I am speaking to you now, and again, I'm sorry I didn't hear about you before, but I'm having the conversation with you now because of the manual, because of the rant. Let's start the conversation. I can't tell you how many women have phoned me. Women are saying, I need to talk to you. Tell me more about this real man. So tomorrow morning, same as I'm doing here, some woman's phoning me up. We're getting 4 or 5 women in, and we start talking about women and how they can attract a real man and look for the characteristics of a real man.
And I think that's very important, is also let women understand what they should be finding in a man, so they can, because I do believe Dr. Phil always said it, is that you teach people how to treat you. And I think Absolutely. If you make the right choices in the beginning, you are going to reap the rewards of that later on in life. Quickly, just before we wrap up, where can people find you?
Well, it's I'm on Facebook. Go to my Facebook page, which is the best is Gavin Sharples Direct, because the Gavin Sharples one is full. So go to Gavin Sharples Direct on Facebook. Same thing on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, and the site obviously www.gavinsharples.co.za, or the Real Man site, which is probably the easiest one to remember, therealmansite.com, and you can click through to that, and all of that. Every one of those will reach us.
Brilliant, Gavin. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and keep up the good work and keep up the posts. I'm now following you as well, and I'll definitely be resharing a lot of your stuff as we go forward.
Thank you very, very much. Really, really, we do need your support. Guys like you who are out there, who've got a footprint and that type of stuff. And my important thing is we have to keep the conversation going. The problem is something shocking happens and we go back to our normal lives until the next shocking things happen. Let's make a change now and keep this thread going.
Totally agree. Right, that's Gavin Sharples joining us on RTL SA today, and it was great chatting to him because he is a very insightful character, and you should definitely go and follow him on his social media pages and join the conversation. Like he was saying, be very vigilant when it comes to sharing what you share. Don't necessarily share the rubbish. Share the good stuff. Share the stuff that's making a difference. Sharing the stuff that's important. And that's what I aim to do on RTL SA, is share important stuff.
RTL SA.